Warning, this podcast contains heavy spoilers for not just one movie, but entire franchises. We highly recommend going and watching these movies before listening to us as a companion piece that stitches all the timelines into one creepy, crime-ridden story. There will be no more spoiler warnings. We do not break character. After this, there is no turning back. You've been warned. Hit the music.
You are talking about the nonsensical ravings of a lunatic mind.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's
alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello, welcome to It's Alive podcast. This is a true crime, paranormal, interstellar podcast covering unbelievable stories that sound like they were ripped straight from the pages of a Hollywood script. I am your host, the outlaw Dr. H.R. Smokenstein THC, and with me as always is my very own Scream Queen, the perfect combination of beauty and brains, the bride of Smokenstein, the India horror expert, the guts and gore, the gorgeous, sexy Amy Rose.
Hi.
So tell me, right? We did half this story last week, half two. This is Micheal Brower, the Brainscan Killer Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Did this turn you off video gaming in any way, shape, or form in the last week?
No, I just got a new one today.
Yeah, I've been playing more too. You'd think it would turn us off. I finished High on Life this week.
Oh yeah, that looked like a good game.
It's a lot of fun. Really short, but a lot of fun.
But see, for me, at the moment, I don't think there's any fear of me traveling back to ancient Egypt and going around killing people.
Well, there is a possibility of an alien invasion that swamps me off to a different planet where I will become a bounty hunter with talking guns and knives. Foul-mouthed.
Foul-mouthed. Covert alien cum dealers.
Cast on it. I mean, right, fair enough. You got Justin Roiland. Bad. Whatever. He's gone now. He's not in it. Sarah Sherman is the new Gatling gun that you got instead of him.
I like Sarah.
But you got Robinson from fucking Friendship.
Tim
Robinson.
Tim Robinson.
He's hilarious.
He's
He
so funny.
shoots. What happens is do you know what? Because it's done by the Rick and Morty people. So do you know the Meeseeks?
Yeah.
So it's like he gives birth to these tiny little Meeseeks.
Oh, the little furry thing.
In the guns. No, they're the blue
yeah. Sorry.
And when you shoot them, they attack your enemy for you. But you can also press a button where one of them will shoot out and take over the other guy for a few minutes, and he'll shoot all the bad guys for you. So one of the bad guys will turn on your side. So you're just popping on, and he doesn't care. He's like, shoot my babies at those, and you're just shooting their babies and all that. There is the dude who was Larry David's roommate in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I like him.
And he is the plant in Harley Quinn. And, not Harley Quinn.
Is he the plant in?
Yeah. Poison Ivy's plant.
Go away. I never knew that. I always thought he sounded familiar.
He's the other one. And the girl from Ghosts that has the cholera that lives under the house, and she was also in the Weed Disjointed.
Yeah.
It was the name of the one with Caddy Bates.
She's very funny.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
Between all of them, they are fucking the funniest guns I've ever fired. But yeah,
probably the only guns that talked to you that you ever fired.
Yeah, and then you have Knifey the Knife, who's Australian and very, very violent.
I was certain that had to have been Taika Waititi, but I was
No,
wrong.
I don't actually know that actor, to be honest.
Okay.
But High on Life 2 is coming, and they have the High on Life downloadable content that I gotta get. High on Life, not High on Life. That's
get it for you.
Specifically a story about Knifey, or where you're helping Knifey do something.
Okay.
I love the name's Knifey. He's awesome.
Knifey.
But yeah, if you like Rick and Morty, you'll love that game. And now I've moved on to Jedi Survivor, which I was putting off for a very long time because I knew it would take me ages to play. But I don't know, because we do this now so often and we have a load of other shit to do, I've finally gotten used to doing what you do with video games, and I'll play a mission once I'm finished a section and I know I'm at a save point. It's like, all right, I can walk away now.
You used to give out to me for that. You used to be like, I don't know how you can do it, but you get a mission. I get sucked into it too. But when I enjoy something, I don't have that much time. I'm able to give it a half an hour and then walk away from it, as opposed to just not doing it at all.
I just want to keep going and going and going. You saw me with Mafia 2 there. I'd sit here and I'd start at 9 o'clock in the evening, and suddenly it was like, oh shit, it's 3 o'clock. We got
That
stuff to do
ran
tomorrow.
on a lot.
We'll go to bed in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, balls, it's 4. Let's go. Quick.
Well, I'm cracking
So I
out
can
mine after this.
understand why Michael got so fucking soaked into the whole fucking thing. All right, I get it. We left him last week. He was after committing 2 murders. Yes, he had the random one murder that he committed first, and then he killed his best friend. What was his best friend's name again? Kyle. His best friend Kyle. He murdered his best friend Kyle. So that's kind of where we left them last week. So let's just
Crack on?
And crack on. Yeah, let's go for it.
So by the time Michael had completed his second assignment through Brainscan, the idea of stopping or even confessing had all but evaporated. For most killers, the early crimes represent either a terrifying misstep or an intoxicating initiation. For Michael, they both became at once.
But see, I've heard serial killers talk about this before. What was the guy? The dude from fucking New Jersey. Oh, Joel Rifkin. And they talk about it like it's addiction. Do you know, it's like they feel it's like they commit the crime and it's like, well, I'm never doing that again. It's like a 13-year-old that's jacked off for the first time. It's like, that was fun. Oh, shit. Inner shame. I can't do that again. And then
I'll go blind.
And then eventually they need to do it again. But it's like a drug addiction, you know, especially you see addicts who might like, oh, I can do it once and I'll be fine. Or alcoholics. And it's like, one drink isn't going to kill me. And then 20 beers later, a couple of shots of vodka and
you got liver poisoning.
Pissing everybody off. But Michael here, he was horrified by what he had done. But equally terrified by the prospect of not finishing what the trickster had set in motion.
Yeah. And this is the paradox at the heart of the Brainscan murders. Michael was not a sadist in the traditional sense. He did not kill for pleasure in the same way that some offenders, for example, Bundy, Kemper, or Ramirez, he thrived on domination or ritual. Michael's violence was compulsive, a grim chore he convinced himself he was demanded by an external force.
Yet, paradox or not, the effect was the same. 2 men are already dead. Local press had begun speculating about a Mountain View slasher. And Michael, though trembling in his own skin, was already preparing for the next task.
Mount View slasher makes him sound like a luxury slasher.
Yeah, I actually called him the Brainscan Killer because I didn't know he had a nickname already. But yeah, I prefer the Brainscan Killer.
So do I. So the trickster became increasingly central to Michael's daily life. Whereas in the beginning he appeared primarily during or after the killings, now he manifested at will, lounging in Michael's bedroom, mocking his attempts at resistance and reminding him that every choice he had been predetermined.
Neighbours reported hearing Michael shouting at someone in his room late at night. You know, no other voices could be heard.
Yeah.
This aligns with psychiatric theories that the trickster was not an external entity, but a projection, an advanced hallucination fueled by Michael's fractured sense of self. And funny enough, a little hint for what's coming in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be talking about a very, very similar thing about one person in one room talking with 2 voices. If you don't get the hint, you don't know anything about what we do.
But in Michael's reality, the trickster was far more than a figment. He was a director, a tormentor, and perhaps most dangerously, an enabler. He not only demanded that Michael continue playing, but he framed the murders as entertainment, a performance Michael owed both to himself and to his unseen audience.
Oh, yeah. Without me, the trickster told him, according to Michael's later interviews, you're just a scared little boy watching others live. With me, you're a star. It was validation Michael had, that he'd been craving all his life.
His
parents aren't around.
Yeah.
So the third killing marked a shift. The first 2 had been clinical bloodshed performed with surgical detachment, but by the third, the trickster pushed Michael to embrace spectacle.
The victim was another stranger, but the brutality intensified. Wounds were deeper, messier, lingering. Michael recalled the trickster urging him to paint the scene as though gore itself was a canvas.
Crime scene photographs sealed from public release, but described in investigative notes, showed excessive overkill, stabbing far beyond what was necessary to kill. This was not simply the elimination of a target. It was expression.
And psychologists would later interpret this as the trickster encouraging Michael to externalize his rage, not merely to perform the act of murder, but to invest in it emotionally.
It was, in their view, the moment Michael crossed from compulsive participant to engaged killer.
Oh, yeah. So by now, Mount View police were under enormous pressure. 3 murders in quick succession, I can never say that word, with no apparent motive or connection between victims, had the community on edge. Parents locked doors, curfews were enforced, and rumours swirled about satanic cults, roving gangs, or an escaped mental patient hiding in the woods.
In reality, the police were circling closer to Michael than they realised. He was interviewed again, not as a suspect, but as a youth consultant with horror expertise.
Yeah.
No, we all know why they were doing that. You're not going to go up to a kid and fucking ask him about it. They just want to get him to talk, really.
Exactly.
His insight into slasher logic amused some officers and unsettled others. One detective later admitted it was like he was speaking the killer's language too fluently. We thought he was just a movie geek, is what they were saying. But now I wonder if he was confessing in plain sight.
After Kyle's death, Michael's paranoia metastasized. Do you think I'd be used to saying that fucking word? Big word. He was convinced the police were watching him, that Kimberly could see through his facade, and that every glance from a neighbour was a silent accusation.
He began destroying evidence, tapes, discs, anything that might implicate him, especially the Brainscan video game.
Yeah.
Because these were coming in installments, according to him, but they didn't really fucking exist, so he was destroying nothing.
No.
Ironically, these frantic cover-ups only deepened police suspicion as neighbours noticed his erratic behaviour. At one point, I know, even though he wasn't specifically very close to her, he did actually call to the house to talk to Kimberly.
Okay.
And saw, this was after the first murder, and that's where he saw the news on the TV while he was waiting for her to come downstairs to talk to her, and he bolted out of the house. So even then her parents started to kind of be like, why is he so freaked out by this?
Yeah.
Reports describe him pacing the streets at odd hours, muttering to himself, staring at houses as though plotting unseen entries. To Mountain View residents, he went from oddball loner to neighborhood menace almost overnight.
And Michael's fixation on Kimberly now reached its peak. The trickster constantly taunted him with the possibility of claiming her, not romantically, but violently. Kimberly represented both temptation and redemption. If Michael could resist harming her, perhaps he still had humanity left. But if he gave in, he would become the very monster he had always idolized from afar.
Investigators later combed Michael's journals and found repeated references to Kimberly during this period. Some entries were benign, daydreams of a teenage romance. Others was chilling, sketches from her bedroom windows, notes about her routines, and even speculative lines about how she might react if the game chose her. And last week we discussed as well the fact that he used to videotape her from his bedroom.
Absolutely.
He had a camera from his bedroom right into her bedroom window. Again, back in the 90s, that was seen as kind of an innocent enough take. Not innocent enough in the movies glorified it as something, when you're pining for somebody,
standing under the window with the tape
staring
recorder.
at him out the window while they get changed. Whereas now we realize that was like what Ted Bundy was doing when he was starting off.
Because Bundy happened in the 70s, you think they'd have thought like that in the 90s, but
Ramirez, the Golden State Killer, BTK, these are all guys who were peeping toms, hint for next week, before they were full-on serial killers.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Golden State Killer was the Visalia ransacker before he became the East Area rapist, before he became the original Night Stalker.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you combine the three, they become the Golden State Killer. It's like a Megazord.
Oh my God. It's like a Pokemon.
The scariest Pokemon that ever lived. Joseph James D'Angelo.
Christ. So though Kimberly was never harmed, her proximity to Michael's spiral remains one of the most disturbing aspects of the case. She was the constant reminder of the life he could never have. The girl next door, forever out of reach.
What makes the Brainscan case so compelling, though, is the duality Michael embodied. On one hand, he was a terrified boy, begging for release, trying desperately to cling to the notion that he, was just playing a game. On the other, he had become this methodical killer, adapting quickly to violence, erasing evidence, and following commands with disturbing efficiency. Do you know? This is like one of those cases where someone has brain surgery and never spoke a word of French in their life and wakes up the next day with a French accent and speaking fluent French. That's what this feels like. This is a guy who never caused anyone any harm, and then suddenly, bang.
Yep. And this duality confused investigators, and it continues to puzzle criminologists. Was Michael a puppet dragged into murder by hallucinatory trickster?
Or was the trickster simply an excuse? A mask he wore to displace responsibility for his own desires? Because that wasn't exactly unheard of either. Was it BTK called it Factor X, I believe? Bundy called it like the entity or something. They all had names.
Dexter, what's his name, called it the Dark Passenger.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has like these weird names for this extra thing that's inside them, guiding them on what they're fucking doing. It just seems, whereas these other serial killers felt like it was an extension of themselves, Michael felt like it was a completely different person.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But either way, the outcome was the same. Michael had transformed from voyeur to participant, from consumer of horror to its living embodiment. By this stage, the trickster was no longer guiding Michael. He was dominating him. Every choice Michael made was framed as part of the game. Every hesitation was weakness. Every kill was a test. Michael no longer lived in Mountview. He lived on a stage constructed by his own fractured perception. The trickster wasn't merely an influence. He was the law.
I am the law!
The murders escalated in brutality, if not in frequency. Each new act bore the hallmarks of performance: theatrical staging, grotesque overkill, deliberate taunting of investigators. Though Michael denied enjoying the killings, the trickster's influence turned them into something that could not be mistaken for mere compulsion. They were statements.
Oh, yeah. And Mountview by now was in panic. Curfews turned into lockdowns, rumors spread like wildfire, and local media ran nightly updates on the Brainscan Killer. Though the name itself would not gain traction until I came up with it, because they were calling him the fucking Mountview Slasher. Do you read how many bad names there are for like some of that? Like I remember like some of the names. Hang on 1 minute. What were they calling? BTK alternate nicknames. Actually, these were his own. These ones he came up with were terrible. If I could find them, some other nicknames he gave himself. But I mean, like, they're not great. I like some of them don't catch on with the media, and so when the media come up with them, they're not always fucking great. Oh no, that's not what I'm looking for. Where is it? I can't find it now, but they were terrible.
I think we mentioned them on one of the shows before, and I remember thinking that they were god awful.
Oh, if I could just letters, arrest, conviction. Oh, here we go. Fuck off, you stupid ad. The Wichita Hangman was one of them anyway. The Wichita Strangler. The Asphyxiator. I did that because that's definitely a fucking wrestler if I ever heard of it.
Oh, God.
I am the Asphyxiator. And on Sunday, I'm going to asphyxiate you at WrestleMania. Oh, yeah.
Why didn't you do it? Become a wrestler. Use that as your gimmick.
What do you mean become a wrestler? I was a wrestler.
Become a wrestler again.
Injuries.
I know.
Yeah, well. Where was I? So parents started forbidding their kids from leaving their homes, and the once quiet neighborhood bristled with suspicion. They even had like a fucking neighborhood watch crew going around, you know?
They did. And yet, amid all this, Michael still walked the streets, unnoticed, unarrested, and unseen for what he was. The irony was bitter. The community searched for a monster in the shadows, while the real one sat in classrooms, ate in cafeterias, and stared longingly at the girl next door.
Because you don't expect this from a child, you know? 16 years old, you're still a child. Nobody expects a child to be able to do this, especially when the first victim was a full-grown man. First bit of suspicion I would have put on to Michael was when his best friend was fucking killed. But then you're looking at somebody who has very few friends and who would be deeply affected by this person going. So, I mean, I wouldn't think... if me looking from the outside in, if Michael lived in this estate and his best friend got killed and he's walking up and down the streets muttering to himself and be like, look at that poor kid, his parents aren't there and he's trying to deal with the fucking loss of his best friend. That's difficult.
I understand
That's what I would have put it as.
what you're saying, but it's not unheard of at all for that age group in America. Like I can't remember the girl's name, but she was just put on death row. Or no, she got her date for execution this week, but she's been on death row for a couple of decades, I think. She killed...
First woman in 200 years to be killed in Kansas, I think
it is. So. Killed her best friend, or not best friend, killed a classmate and carved a pentagram into her chest in the 80s. Like, that's a long fucking time to be on death row.
Well, they usually are on death row.
But what's the 80s now? 40 years? Unreal. So the more control the trickster exerted, the more violently Michael resisted. He tried smashing discs, unplugging equipment, and even locking himself away, but none of it mattered. The trickster returned each time, grinning, taunting, and reminding him that escape was impossible.
This dynamic mirrored cases of dissociative identity disorder where one dominant personality consumes the weaker host. Again, come back here in 2 weeks' time, we'll be talking about all this all over again. Whether the trickster was an alter ego or a hallucinated projection, his role as conqueror was clear. Michael was losing the war for his mind.
The tragedy, though, is that Michael seemed fully aware of this loss. His journals and confessions reveal a boy conscious of his descent, but powerless to halt it. I know it's me, one entry reads, but it doesn't feel like me. It feels like I'm watching someone else use my body.
That chilling admission is perhaps the purest summary of the Brainscan murders. A boy who no longer recognized himself even as he left corpses in his wake.
Yep.
But I mean, like, how do you deal with that? How do you, I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, because I know there's always debate in these kind of things, because obviously nearly everybody who's brought up on a murder charge will go, I'm crazy, just to get the to get off on mental health issues.
Yeah.
He seems genuine.
Yeah.
Do you know, all the evidence lines up, everything that you see about him, and it genuinely seems like this is a mentally ill person who was visibly seeing somebody else controlling him. Like, he never felt, it was like being a prisoner in your own body. You're watching it happen, but you have no power. You're just a puppet.
Yeah.
You're just following along. Like you put on a VR headset and you're just watching what's happening as you walk along.
Yeah. And by the end of this phase, Michael was no longer the passive loner introduced at the beginning of this case. He was an active participant in a nightmare of his own making.
The trickster's grip was absolute, his paranoia total, his social ties severed. With Kyle dead and Kimberly unreachable, Michael existed in a vacuum. His only tether was the murder themselves.
And so when the final sequence of the game approached, Michael was not surprised. He was, in a perverse way, ready. The stage had been set and the rules laid out. All that remained was the end game, the moment when Michael would either embrace his identity as a killer or collapse under the weight of his guilt.
That's got to be a little bit of an upside for you as a serial killer, though. As an unwilling serial killer. Most serial killers can't stop. They got to keep going and going and going and escalating until they get caught. This guy's just got to get to the final boss and beat it.
And then done. As long as he can lay low after that.
Congratulations, you have moved on to Brainscan 2. Balls!
Now let's play it Death March mode. So by the time Michael reached what investigators would later refer to as the terminal phase of the Brainscan murders, his sense of control had fully collapsed. The deaths of strangers had already weighed on him, and Kyle's murder shattered his last tether to reality.
What remained was a boy circling the drain of his own conscience, clinging to the belief that all this might still just be a game. It's important to remember that Michael never stopped perceiving himself as both victim and perpetrator. He killed, yes, but he killed because he was being made to. The trickster had his claws too deep. The program had written the script too tightly. If he stopped, if he confessed, if he resisted, Michael believes something far worse will be unleashed.
And whether that belief was delusion or manipulation is still debated. What isn't debated is that Michael continued killing even as his fear of discovery consumed him. Mountview police had shifted their focus to the high school itself. The murders bore no clear motive, no consistent victimology, and no sign of forced entry in several cases. This pointed to someone young, agile, and possibly connected to the local community.
Michael, with his horror expertise and increasingly erratic behavior, drew suspicion, obviously.
Yeah.
Officers noted his frequent agitation during questioning, his habit of supplying too much detail, which is a huge problem for fucking offenders, and his strange mixture of fear and fascination when discussing the crimes. I mean, but they do say that about like the serial killer. It's like the best thing you could do is just keep them talking, because they sometimes you see it with anyone who's trying to lie. The lies sometimes are overly. They say the best lie is a simple lie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Easiest,
don't complicate
simple,
it.
Fucking As soon as you start getting into detail after detail you're gonna trip yourself up. And a lot of serial killers trip themselves up. That's why you always see, like, in cop shows and shit like that, the last thing they want to hear when the guy comes in is, I want to see my lawyer. Because as soon as they say, I want to see my lawyer, you got to go and provide him with a lawyer. But if they talk before that, and they didn't ask for a lawyer, anything you say or do will be held against you.
Do you have to offer them the lawyer, though, beforehand? Do you have to actually verbalize to them?
Rights.
If you do not have a lawyer, one will
be
appointed
provided
for
to you. Then you bring them to the questioning room. You sit down until they say the words, I want a lawyer. They're digging their own grave, basically.
I suppose the best course of action if you're not having a lawyer is just to say no over and over again. Because like you said, you're not acting detail. Did you kill him? No. Where were you? Not answering.
Well, I mean, like, one thing I have learned from listening to true crime podcasts and watching true crime shows is, even if you are 100% innocent of what you are being accused of,
they'll still find a way to get it out of you.
Say
nothing
until there is a lawyer.
Because your words will be twisted once they have a conviction, once they can close the case. Doesn't matter.
Because I think some innocent people will go in with the attitude of, well, I'm innocent, I have nothing to hide, I can talk. Mm-hmm. But it's like, don't ever. It doesn't matter how innocent you are. It doesn't matter if you're the fucking, I don't know, the best good Samaritan, do charity work every weekend.
You shut up and you ask for your lawyer.
Nothing is said until there is a solicitor sitting right next to your ass.
Absolutely.
Then you will say what they will tell you to say.
Yep. And at one point, when the detectives casually mentioned that the killer might have trophies from his crimes, Michael allegedly turned pale and excused himself from the room. In retrospect, this was damning. Michael had indeed kept souvenirs, though whether consciously or subconsciously, that remains unclear.
Still, without direct evidence, police hesitated. I mean, they'll hold off and they won't do shit until they
fuck up their case.
Yeah. So Michael was clever enough to erase his tracks, and the randomness of his killings made it difficult to link him definitively to the scenes. But he did have some trophies. I mean, there was a foot missing from the first crime.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, apparently Michael tried to dispose of the foot when he kind of came through, and he was still kind of caught in this kind of, I didn't do it, it was the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he found the foot. He took it and tried to bury it. But while he was digging a hole, a dog came along and grabbed it and ran off with it. So he had to chase the dog down and basically try and beg the dog to give him back the foot so that he could...
Did he get it back?
I think so, yeah. I think he managed to bury it. They found it way later on after he'd been incarcerated, and they drugged him up enough that he could actually talk normally and give them what they wanted. And... also, Kyle used to wear this big ass this necklace, but it had like this big similar to the Odin spear kind of pendant you see, but it was very sharp, very big, kind of, I don't know, I can't describe how big, but he found that. What would happen is when he would come out of the brain scan trance, the trickster would tell him to go check the fridge, and it would be sitting inside the fridge each time.
Lovely.
With blood splattered on it.
Yuck. So throughout this period, Kimberly remained an obsession for Michael and a fixation for the trickster. To Michael, she represented a chance at redemption, the girl who could prove he was still capable of normal love. And to the trickster, she was the ultimate temptation, the final level of the game.
Trickster taunted him relentlessly. If you can kill her, you'll finally be free. I think the way you got to look at it here is, it is like that line of, if this is truly me and I am just a psychotic killer, then no one matters to me, and I'll be fine with killing this person that I supposedly am infatuated with.
Yeah.
If it's a mental illness and there's something inside me trying to control me or force me to do this, I will resist this as hard as I can. I won't let this happen.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Michael resisted with all he had left. He watched Kimberly from his window, not with lust or affection anymore, but with dread. He knew or believed that sooner or later the program would direct him to her. And if it did, he wasn't sure that he could stop himself.
Is that not like even a bit of a fucking confession? It had to be his brain at work there then. You know, it had to be a mental illness because he knows he's infatuated with this person.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he wants to be with this person. So that has to be the final level. Like, why this person? His brain had to make that split decision, you know? That bad side of him, the trickster side of him was pushing him to try and fully take over. I mean, Kimberly herself later recounted that Michael seemed to hover at the edge of her life during this time. Silent, watchful, almost spectral, you know? It was like he wanted to tell her something, but he never did. He just stared and then he'd be gone. Yeah.
And the trickster grew crueler as Michael's resistance increased. No longer content to simply instruct, he ridiculed Michael's fear. He reminded him that every attempt to defy the program had failed and that every corpse was proof of his disobedience. Obedience, even.
You think you're playing me? The trickster sneered. You've been mine since the first cut. No, that's according to Michael again.
Michael's journals from this time revealed a mind at war with itself.
On one page, he vowed to destroy the program and in the nightmare. On another, he acknowledged that he could never escape. It's in me now, is what he said. Even if I smash the disc, it's still running. This self-awareness, knowing he was losing control yet unable to stop, was perhaps the most tragic element of Michael's decline.
Yeah.
He wasn't oblivious. He wasn't giddy. He wasn't drowning. He was drowning, fully conscious of his own suffocation. I mean, other serial killers are enjoying their work. You know?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
You know, it's what I do in my spare time.
He's like, shit, I gotta go to work.
Yeah, for him, it's like, fuck, will this ever end? This is
torment.
Like I said, like an addiction that he can't get rid of. You know, it's like a heroin addict who doesn't want to shoot up, but does. You know?
Yeah.
The only time I've seen other serial killers act like this is because you've got product and process killers. Yeah. Process killers enjoy killing. Product killers don't enjoy killing, but enjoy playing with the body. Yeah. For a process killer, the cleanup afterwards is a bitch. You know, it's like, it's great, I killed somebody. What the fuck am I going to do with this body? Do you know? Whereas the product killer is like, I really don't want to kill this person, but I need that body. You know?
I need that body.
Essentially, you know, so their kill is going to be quicker. It's going to be faster. It's going to be as easy as possible so I can have fun with this body. Dahmer.
Yeah, product
100% product killer, you know? Bundy, process all. Well, he might be a bit of both process product.
But he enjoyed necrophilia as well, so that would be a bit of both.
BTK or Golden State Killer, they're
absolutely
process. Ramirez, process.
But I think that's what kind of makes, and I don't mean this to that I feel sympathetic towards him. I think that's what makes product killers a tiny bit more sympathetic because, like in Dahmer's case, he knew he should be in jail. He didn't want to be let out of jail. He knew that he was a bad person. But like you said, it's like a heroin addict. He couldn't stop. Like he couldn't stop the addiction. He knew himself he was going to reoffend.
Ed Gein was so much of a product killer that he just went to the second-hand shop to get his bodies. Local graveyard. If I gotta kill, fine. But I mean, if we can go to the second-hand store and just pull some out of the dirt, that's good.
So the most disturbing aspect of the Brainscan case is the uncertainty of what was real to Michael. Like, even contemporaneous accounts conflict. For instance, Michael claimed that after each murder, he awoke in his bed as though nothing happened. To him, this suggested the killings might be dreams, simulated sequences projected by the game. But when he checked the news, the victims were there and the details matched.
Investigators struggled with this contradiction. Was Michael blacking out, committing murders, then rationalizing them as gameplay? Or had the trickster engineered a reality where Michael could no longer separate waking life from fantasy? The community at large seized on the latter. Tabloids declared Brainscan to be satanic software that hypnotized teens into killing. Moral watchdog groups cited the case as evidence that interactive horror was corrupting America's youth. And what's funny is one key piece of evidence that actually worked in Michael's favor here was he, after I believe it was before Kyle's murder. Or it might have been the third one. I can't remember. But he actually videotaped himself. He put on the camera. He put a camera on, put on the brain scan game, sat there and looked at the camera and said, hopefully when in the morning when we play this back, I'll have not moved from this seat and nothing will have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Although if anything else happens, take this as my confession as that I'm the killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the videotape, you can see the game boots up. He's sitting there. Things are chill for like a few minutes, and then suddenly it's almost like a zombie sleepwalking state. He gets up and he just walks off.
Pops. Yeah. Yeah. It's creepy. But psychiatrists who examined Michael insisted otherwise. The game had no supernatural power. It was Michael himself, unstable, isolated, impressionable, who created the trickster and authored the bloodshed. The game was only a mirror.
Yeah, I suppose again, like you said, for even a kid at home who, outside of the fact that he's home alone, he's dealing with a lot of trauma. He's like, this kid still had a limp at 16 from a car crash from 10 years ago that killed his mother. He witnessed his mother dying after this vicious car crash. He was dealing with the injury as well. I mean, that's a lot to take on board. And you're talking about the 90s as well. That's before they did stuff like grief fucking counseling or any real counseling was a huge thing. Like, it wasn't like a mandatory thing. Something like that happens to a kid now, it's almost nearly mandatory that they're going to some form of counseling. You know?
Yeah,
whereas at this stage, it was like, how you feeling, buddy? You're okay? Do you think you need to talk to somebody?
Chin up there, man. Yeah.
Play your games. It's okay. And kids like that then as well, they tend to have like much looser kind of fucking boundaries where, like we said, we let our kids watch horror movies with us at times, but we'll have seen the movie before they'll have seen the movie. We know what's coming before they know what's coming.
Yeah.
We know what they can watch and what they can't watch, and there's boundaries to it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not there in this kid's situation, and you have to assume it hasn't been there since he's been 8 or 9 years old once his mother was out of the picture,
yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So eventually, Michael made mistakes. He grew careless in covering his tracks, and fingerprints, shoe prints, and a witness who glimpsed a figure matching his build began to narrow the investigation.
Detectives also noticed his growing isolation. He stopped attending horror club meetings, skipped classes, and avoided social gatherings. His absence stood out as much as his presence once had. Yeah. On top of that, I mean, they went to talk to him about Kyle's murder because obviously his best friend, you know he has any enemies, who has he been talking to, all this stuff. He was very evasive, didn't really want to talk about it, didn't seem all that upset about it in front of them, whereas, you know, people were expecting him to be broke up.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And in their final interrogation of Michael before the climax, officers described him as split. At times, he spoke with a calm detachment, analysing the murders as though he were a film critic breaking down the tropes. And then at other times, he broke down into panicked denials, insisting he knew nothing, pleading that it was all a game. Though police lacked a smoking gun, the consensus among investigators was clear. Michael was their man. The trickster, sensing Michael's collapse, delivered the final command. Kimberly.
And this was the end point, the inevitable trajectory of his descent. To kill Kimberly would be to sever his last connection to humanity, to fully embrace his role as the star of the game Brainscan.
Yep. Michael fought harder than ever. He barricaded himself into his room. He smashed his computer. He begged the trickster to leave him alone, but the trickster only laughed. He reminded Michael that the game was not in the hardware, it was in him. That night, Michael entered Kimberly's house, whether compelled by hallucination, hypnotic suggestion, or his own fractured psyche. He stood in her bedroom as she slept. Creepy. Knife in hand, he hovered over her, the trickster whispering in his ear. And then he stopped. Why he stopped remains a mystery. Perhaps love overcame compulsion.
It is not a mystery. I know why he stopped. It's a weird situation. This little bit, we can get into this in a minute, but she woke up. She saw him there. She confessed to him that she had liked him too. And this was before she realized what he was there for. Like, she just thought he was after sneaking into the room and fight. Like, she apparently knew that he had been looking through his window.
Okay.
And videotaping her. But she showed him that she had been taking photographs of him through her thing. She was into photography.
Yeah.
And see, what happened was a little earlier on, they had a bit of a falling out.
Mm-hmm.
After Kyle's death, Kimberly called to the house. This is what Kimberly says anyway. She called to the house to see how he was doing.
Mm.
And later on, she had told a friend of hers that she had went to see him and what he had said. A friend of hers worked for the school newspaper.
Okay.
She printed what Michael had said to Kimberly in the paper.
Yeah.
So no, and it was generally, I've been crying, I'm upset, I miss him, all this kind of stuff. Michael got pissed off about that, so he had a bit of a falling out with Kimberly over this. So Kimberly actually thought he was there to make up, and she was showing him how much she loved him as well, and that's when she noticed the knife in his hand.
Yeah.
And when she asked him about that, was he the killer? That's when he kind of started to completely spiral out of control, and she said he was talking to himself, but in a different voice. That, he'd respond in a different, more rough, crazy voice, and it was back and forth, and it looked like that scene in in Fight Club, where he beats the shit out of himself. She said it was essentially like that. It looked like he was in a wrestling match with himself around the bedroom.
Funny,
but it was a thing of love stopping him, because he realized she does like me. I want to be with her, and well,
either way, he fled into the night, leaving Kimberly unharmed. Michael's refusal marked the breaking point. The trickster, in rage, turned on him. In Michael's mind, the trickster threatened to consume him entirely, to erase his identity and claim his body forever.
Yeah, neighbors later reported hearing screams from Michael's house, screams of terror, rage, despair. By the time police arrived, Michael was alone, hysterical, insisting he killed dozens, that the trickster had made him do it, that the game was still running. Yet, in the official record, no bodies beyond the first victims were ever conclusively tied to him. Kyle's death, though deeply suspected, remains circumstantial. Kimberly was unharmed. I mean, there was one other death he blamed himself for. I told you, I mentioned earlier on that they had the neighborhood watch going about.
Yeah.
And actually kind of two deaths that he didn't directly kill, but were kind of his fault. In one case, he had convinced himself, the trickster had convinced him that he had left a footprint at Kyle's house.
Okay.
So he was sneaking back to try and get rid of the footprint.
Mm-hmm.
It was the next objective. It was the one where the trickster promised him he wouldn't have to kill anybody. It was the objective of this level is to go and get rid of the evidence.
Okay.
The evidence being the footprint. He went there, but their neighborhood watch was patrolling. They were warned not to be armed.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, a cop who was also kind of patrolling around there, because the cops were obviously driving around, keeping a close eye on there, but saw him snooping around the garden, chased him. They ran onto a construction kind of site, a site where a house was being built. There was scaffolding there. He was trying to hide. As the cop came through, he knocked off of something, and there was a load of bricks on top of the scaffolding that dropped on top of this man and killed him.
Okay.
In another situation, one of the people who was doing a neighborhood watch was carrying a gun, even though he wasn't supposed to. And when a cop came onto the scene of the brick dropping, this neighborhood watch guy also came towards the noise, saw the cop, saw the gun, and shot the cop before the cop could tell him he was a cop.
Okay.
So 2 more people died here indirectly because of Michael, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said, yeah.
Well,
So realistically, there's really only like 2 or 3 definites on him here, like, you know?
Yeah. But the inconsistencies that you mentioned fueled the enduring mystery. Did Michael truly kill as many as he believed? Or were some of his murders hallucinations, simulated scenarios implanted by a mind that can no longer distinguish truth from fiction? Michael was institutionalized following his arrest, deemed unfit for trial. Psychiatrists diagnosed him with acute dissociative psychosis, likely triggered by isolation, media saturation, and unresolved trauma. The trickster, they concluded, was a hallucinated alter ego, an avatar of Michael's violent impulses. Brainscan, they argued, was less a program and more a catalyst, a story Michael told himself to rationalize his acts.
Yet others disagree. Detectives who worked the case remain convinced Michael's kills were real and that his confessions matched too many forensic details to be dismissed as fantasy. For them, the game was not a metaphor. It was the engine of his spree. And I mean, on the other side as well, Brainscan was taken off the market not long after this, and it wasn't because of the crimes. It was because it was causing seizures in kids. You know, like that Pokemon episode where everyone just freaked out.
I think a few people went blind from it as well,
from
for the seizures.
So the flashing lights and all that. So Brainscan was taken away. It's near impossible to get a copy these days.
The Brainscan murders, as you came to call them, occupy a strange space in criminal history. On one hand, they represent a straightforward tale of a teenager losing his grip on reality and committing homicide. But on the other hand, they blur into urban legend, with half the public believing in a cursed game that drove him mad.
Michael himself never clarified. In later interviews, he shifted constantly. Sometimes he insisted it was all real, that the trickster still haunted him. Other times he admitted none of it had happened, that it was just a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. So he's still very unwell in that sense of being kind of lost between the two, being lucid, being away in La La Land.
And to this day, the case is cited in criminology courses as a study in the dangers of media obsession, the fragility of adolescent psychology, and the difficulty of distinguishing between fantasy and culpability in cases of mental collapse. When investigators and psychiatrists began dissecting Micheal Brower's behaviour, they quickly realised they weren't dealing with a simple killer kid. Michael didn't fit neatly into the existing molds of teen murderers. He wasn't a fame seeker like Kip Kinkle even. He wasn't a thrill killer like Eric Smith, and he wasn't a bullied avenger in the Columbine vein.
Bullshit. They were not bullied. They were the bulliers.
Yes.
Fuck them.
Mike,
you want to hear more about them? Listen to it's a live action from last week,
yes. You know the week before.
2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Last week was Satanic Panic.
Yes.
This week, violent video games. Check it out, Patreon.
Michael was, at his core, a loner who turned his isolation into horror-driven fantasy life. Where most teens use horror as a safe outlet, an escape valve for adolescent rage, Michael merged it with his lived reality.
To him, the difference between a Fangoria article and a police crime scene blurred until they were interchangeable. Dr. Margaret Ainsworth, a forensic psychologist who interviewed Michael extensively after his institutionalization, wrote, "What makes Michael's case so troubling is not his lack of awareness, but his surplus of it. He knew the murders were wrong. He knew he was sliding into darkness, and still he convinced himself that a game, an external force, was in control. In truth, the trickster was Michael all along. His cruelty, his violence, his repressed given form."
Yeah. And the trickster is perhaps the most infamous element of the Brainscan case. Eyewitnesses never reported seeing him. He left no evidence, and yet Michael, he was as real as any friend. Modern analysts agree that the trickster functioned as a dissociative hallucination, a coping mechanism for actions Michael could not reconcile with his conscience. Rather than admit he had chosen to kill, Michael invented an entity who commanded it. But unlike many dissociative cases where the alters protect the host, the trickster seemed designed to torment. He mocked Michael, ridiculed him, and dangled Kimberly's life as the ultimate prize. It was a parasitic relationship, and one that stripped away Michael's agency piece by piece until he felt like nothing more than an avatar in someone else's game. The blurring of self and alter left psychiatrists divided. Was Michael suffering from dissociative identity disorder, or was this simply psychosis, a single mind hallucinating an adversary? Either way, the result was catastrophic.
And the early 90s were a fertile time for moral panics. Video games were under fire for violent content. The Satanic Panic still lingered in cultural memory. The Brainscan murders hit that sweet spot of fear. A teenager, a computer program, and unexplained violence. Tabloids ran with lines like, "Murder by joystick. Did a game make him kill? Brainscan, virtual reality, or real world horror. Suburban Dracula, the boy who killed for fun. I don't know where they got Dracula from, but whatever.
Oh, Dracula.
Talk shows debated whether Brainscan was real software or a metaphor. Parents demanded investigations into vinyl and video games. School boards cited Michael's case as evidence that horror fandom was warping youth. Bullshit. For Michael, this meant that his identity was forever tied to the panic. He wasn't just a boy who killed, he was a symbol, a warning, a scapegoat for society's unease with technology and teen isolation. In other words, Tipper Gore would have used this dude as her mascot. God.
One of the strongest threads in this case remains Michael's fixation on Kimberly. So unlike his victims, Kimberly survived, but she became central to the narrative. Some argue that Michael's refusal to kill her was proof of lingering humanity, a final act of resistance against the trickster, but others believe Kimberly was elevated in Michael's psyche as a kind of Madonna figure, the one pure thing that he couldn't defile.
Kimberly herself struggled with the aftermath. In interviews later, she admitted, "I never knew if I was supposed to feel lucky or cursed. Lucky that he spared me, cursed that he wanted to kill me at all." Her testimony reinforced the sense that Michael's crimes weren't just random, they were narrative-driven. Like levels in a story, with Kimberly as the final boss.
I wonder, was it kind of like survivor's guilt for her? Kind of nearly like, do you know, that kind of like a torn, like, oh, thank God I didn't die, but...
Yeah, or I am the baddest final boss. Fuck
I
you,
am
Dwayne.
invincible.
I kick your ass, Rock. Final boss my ass. The Rock thinks he's the final boss. It's Kimberly.
Michael, he never stood trial in the conventional sense. He was declared unfit due to severe psychosis and committed to a psychiatric facility. Reports from inside paint a picture of a boy caught in a loop, reliving his crimes as though replaying levels of a game. Sometimes he'd insist he didn't kill anyone, that it was all brain scan, all simulation, and other times he confessed in gruesome detail, adding flourishes that investigators couldn't confirm, but which felt too specific to be imagined.
Nurses recalled him screaming at invisible presences, bargaining with the trickster, and pleading not to start the next disc. His sense of time collapsed. Days, months, years blended into one endless gaming session, which we all understand because, let's face it, when you start playing a game, time means fucking nothing anymore.
Perhaps the most enduring mystery of the Brainscan murders is what was real and what was imagined. Some murders had undeniable evidence, fingerprints, DNA, witness sightings, and others only existed in Michael's recollections and never verified by police.
Kaya's death remained the most disputed. Many investigators believe Michael killed his best friends, but physical evidence was lacking.
Okay, so the ambiguity leaves the case half in the realm of fact and half in legend. Did Michael truly rack up a body count, or did his fractured psyche inflate a handful of crimes into a killing spree? Well, we may never know.
Well, I think with Kyle's murder, it's almost a guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
He was already killing. He was directly involved with him. I just because they don't have the hardcore evidence and he hasn't a mind sharp enough to detail things from. It's just,
yeah.
I do truly believe he did that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And over the decades, Michael's story has evolved from tragedy to cautionary tale to urban myth. Horror fans, ironically, embraced it, seeing him as a real-life extension of the genre he loved. Forums still debate whether the trickster was supernatural or a figment. Academics, meanwhile, use the case to illustrate adolescent vulnerability to media immersion. Michael wasn't the first teen to conflate fiction with reality, but he became the most notorious. In the wider culture, his story foreshadowed later debates about violent video games from Mortal Kombat to Grand Theft Auto. And every time a new controversy emerged, Michael's name was dredged up as proof of where unchecked obsession could lead.
Oh, God, you should have heard how often they talked about this guy when Manhunt came out.
Oh, I can imagine. So what ultimately can we say about Micheal Brower? He was not a monster born. He was not a mastermind killer. He was a lonely, damaged boy who built his identity around horror until he couldn't find the line between screen and skin. The trickster, whether hallucination or metaphor, was Michael's dark mirror. The side of him that wanted to matter, to feel powerful, to break free of his suffocating suburban existence. And in giving that mirror control, he lost himself.
The tragedy of Micheal Brower is not just the lives he took, but the life he might have lived had someone reached him sooner. Had someone seen past the Fangoria posters and the video games to the boy who just needed a connection.
Yeah. And today, the Brainscan murders stand as both a warning and mystery. Warning because they remind us how isolation and obsession can warp vulnerable minds, and mystery because the truth remains obscured by Michael's shifting narrative. Did he kill because he wanted to? Because a game told him to? Because his own mind betrayed him?
The only answer we have is the one Michael himself gave. I'm so used to saying
You're so
game
used to it now.
Scrawled in a journal entry discovered years after his institutionalization, it says, "It doesn't matter if it was real. I felt it, I played it, I lived it, and I can't stop replaying it."
That line, more than anything, captures the essence of his descent. A boy trapped in an endless loop, unable to press stop, and forever haunted by the game that he may or may not have played.
Well, and that's pretty much Michael's story, right? We're done with Micheal Brower now, but the big one that comes to mind of a more modern case was the Slender Man killings, where those two girls believed that Slender Man was real, believed that if they sacrificed this third girl, their friend, to Slender Man in the woods, that he'd take them to his fucking mansion where they could live with Slender Man forever. Thankfully, the girl they stabbed survived.
Exactly.
And did one of them get released lately?
I think so.
And the other one was kept in.
Well, I think one was more of a driving force than the other. Like,
but they were both they didn't get actual hard time either. They were both institutionalized.
Yeah,
the same as Michael here.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's Micheal Brower.
Yeah.
And if you want more horror and crime fun, then head on over to patreon.com, the Horrorverse Network, and check out our bonus show. It's a live action because tomorrow we'll be dropping our bonus show episode where we list the 10 most controversial video games in modern history and the legacy and effect that they've had on the gaming industry.
While you're there, check out the rest of our Patreon exclusive shows like Amy's Horrific History Show, Playing with Bones, and my show, Celebrity Rap Sheet, where we look at the life and crimes of all your favorite celebs. This week, we are going 20 years forward from our last 3 stories to talk about the Black Dahlia murder and its possible association with the Hollywood elite.
Yes. And all that and mini monsters are available now on at the Horrorverse Network on Patreon. Subscribe now for only $5 a month with a 7-day free trial for all new subscribers. And if you're into gaming, you can catch me on Twitch every Monday from 10 p.m. to midnight Irish time, which is 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. EST US time. That's on Twitch at Amy Rose 9.
EST is Eastern. They don't know what Eastern is.
I think the Americans know what Eastern is. That what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry.
We'll be back next week with more tales from the Horrorverse. See you then. Same Alive time. Same Horrorverse channel. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.